Hi, everybody. So I know I didn't give any warning about going live, and I do apologize. Welcome back to Storkey Farmstead. My name is Samantha. Guys, as you pop on, please hit the like button. If you are not subscribed, consider subscribing and rowing in our boat. Drop over in chat. Tell me who you are, where you're watching from. So today's topic. Good morning. I just flew all night from Seattle to get home. Most of you know that. My husband has an aneurysm on his brain. Hold on. Looks like it's trying to buffer. Can you guys hear me okay? Okay, awesome. Awesome. We won't know anything. He is not able to go back to work, everyone, until a doctor clears him. I'm not even 100% sure where the aneurysm is located on the brain. Just know that it's there. Okay. So he cannot work in 105-degree temperature in South Louisiana doing the physical labor that he does until he has been cleared by not only a neurosurgeon, but also a primary care physician. So it looks like we may be out of work for over a week. So just pray for us, please. But I want to talk to you guys about something. I did a video the other day, and a lot of people really got upset. Like, they really got upset with me because they're like, Social Security is not socialism, Sam. I paid into that. That's my money. So just listen to me, folks. I want to explain to you how you've been lied to. Okay. So true capitalism, which is what America was built on, works like this: free trade, reduced amount of government interference and red tape. In other words, you want to start a business, it should be very easy for you to start that business. And what the government has been doing for the past 5 or 10 years, hold on, for the past 5 or 10 years, no, past 15 or 20 years, is bailing out large corporations. That is a monopoly backed by the government. That is true socialism. Okay. Our banks have been bailed out by our federal dollars, right? The airlines were bailed out. Housing was bailed out. It's to the point now that no new industry can come in because all the old ones were bailed out. It's a way for them to keep the money in the hands of the few, the elect, the elite. That's not capitalism. So, yeah, I'm a little frustrated with the current system we're all living under also. But we cannot allow them to continue co-opting our country and turning it socialist step by step, generation by generation. Let me read something to you. All I'm asking is that you listen. From the inception of the country until the 1930s, the American people lived without Social Security. Our American ancestors believed that everyone should be free to keep everything he earned and decide for himself what to do with his own money. That's in fact why Americans also didn't have a federal income tax and IRS for more than 125 years of our country. Proponents of Social Security say that young people need to be forced to be good and caring towards their parents. Our ancestors, on the other hand, rejected that notion of mandatory charity. They believed that charity meant, hold on, guys, sorry, something's wrong with my computer. Anyway, they believed that charity meant nothing if it came as a result of governmental force. They believed that charity had meaning only when it came through a willing heart of the individual. Our American ancestors also understood that once people go onto the government dole, the government paycheck, they become basically, folks, dependent on that money. Many seniors today are convinced Without that check, they would die in the streets. Many of them have also become docile and passive in the face of grave government wrongdoing because they fear that the government will cancel their checks if they protest governmental misconduct too loudly. Freedom and voluntary charity versus socialism and mandatory charity. Two different concepts in American history. Which one is better? You put it over there, because let me explain to you what Social Security actually is. Many seniors today have convinced themselves that Social Security, the program that President Franklin Roosevelt's administration foisted on the United States in the 1930s, is a retirement program, one in which they contributed their money during their working lives. They have this quaint notion at retirement that for working for years, U.S. officials will dutifully deposit their contributions into an interest-bearing savings account that is now available for them to draw upon. But it is not true. It's self-deception, all right? None of what I just read was true. Your money is not sitting in an account with your name on it drawing interest like they told you it would be. From the very beginning, Social Security has always been nothing more than a standard socialist program, one that uses government to force money from people that it belongs to, younger people, and then it turns around and gives it to older people. You might say, but Sam, I put money in, therefore it's mine. I have a right to get it back. No. With Social Security, nobody puts anything into anything. Today's seniors have paid taxes their entire working lives, just as people throughout modern history have paid taxes. All the money that the IRS collected from today's seniors in taxes was spent the year it was collected. In other words, there's no money left. Your money, if you paid money in 1980, that money was spent in 1980. You paid money in 1981, your money was spent in 1981. You might ask me, what did they spend it on, Sam? Because they weren't supposed to. I'm going to tell you. It's true that all taxation has left people with less money for their actual retirement. There is no doubt about it. The fact is that previous generations used the political process to plunder today's seniors to fund cherished domestic and foreign programs. It still does not legitimize the moral sense that seniors on Social Security today are taking money from younger people. Your money was spent generations ago, friends. It is especially true given today that many of today's seniors during their working lives favored the welfare warfare state of life on which those tax monies were being spent. Social Security, an idea that originated among German socialists in the 1800s, is based on the Marxian principle from each according to his ability to each according to his need. In other words, your Social Security wasn't and ever will come back to you. If you could have kept your Social Security money that you paid in, invested it, or paid your home off, or put it in an IRA or anything else, you would have 3 times the amount of money every month that you're getting. The truth is, your money was taken, it was spent overseas, it was spent giving it to illegal aliens that come over here and get disability the day they step on American soil. Your money has been misappropriated. Can you guys hear me? Okay, thank you. I'm not saying that you didn't honestly pay into Social Security. You've got to learn to really hear what I'm trying to tell you, folks. The money you are currently getting is not the money that you put into Social Security. Your money is gone. It was spent, even though it was illegal to do it. They spent it inappropriately. And you are now pulling money from young people who will not have that social net. Do I think that they need to stop it and leave all you guys with nothing? No. But I think they need to cut it down, cut it off. If people 50 and under just know they're not going to get it. I don't know, but they're going to have to do something. Because America is at a crossroads. We are either going to continue implementing socialist plans to stop poverty, or we're going to say, stop taxing us all to flip together and let us figure it out on our own. Stop bailing out large corporations. Stop propping up monopolies. Allow Americans to start new businesses. If Boeing can't keep their money straight and their jets in the sky, then allow somebody else to come in and do it. The problem is that when you look at like HUD housing is a socialist program, because the idea of socialism is the principle works like this: your ability to help somebody else's need. So Samantha and Stephen work very hard. Stephen's paying into Social Security. I'm paying into Social Security. But my money's being used for people who never did pay into Social Security. So that's how socialism works. If Social Security was the great program that it should be, why are all of our seniors losing their homes, can't afford their medication? Do you see what I'm saying? It's ridiculous. And I know that it's like scary for the ones of you that are on Social Security and disability, because you're like, oh my God, she's talking about taking away the only thing that I have. But if you really are honest with yourself, you're taking money from the first generation in America that is doing worse off than their parents, and they're struggling. But they're paying your Social Security check because your money's been gone, baby. It's been gone. Your officials that you elected did that. It goes on to say that the government is forcibly taking money from people to whom it belongs and giving it to people to whom it does not belong, after deducting a sizable amount to pay for their bureaucratic expenses for performing the service. See, that's how the government works. When they take out $100 out of your paycheck, $20 goes to the handling cost of running the Social Security program. So only $80 is being put into the Social Security program. And as soon as it hits the bank, it goes right back out to somebody else's check. But it's not your money. Your money's gone. It's your kids and your grandkids. The way America used to work was people kept all of their money. If you worked really hard, you could have a better standard of life. If you had a great education and, look, I know people on here are going to tell me, but that's not fair. I worked really hard. Maybe you did. But if somebody goes to college for 12 or 14 years to become the best at something, folks, they should make more money, because that is the incentive behind going to college for 12 stinking years. I totally agree, Mark. It was better when local churches, local organizations helped the disabled and the elderly. Right now in America, we have children on Social Security disability because they have autism or ADHD or a learning disability. 1 out of every 10 kids is pulling a check. That kid is really never expected to work in their life, but they're going to draw from the system. And I agree. You cannot live on a Social Security check. If it was a Social Security program like they sold it to the American people, you should be living at the quality of life that you lived when you worked. Do you understand what I'm saying? If this program was so great, you would be living as good as you did during the wealthiest years of your income. Did you know that federal, state, and local employees do not pay into Social Security, and most of them will not draw from it. They have private retirement. Why? If Congress thinks Social Security is so great, if they have convinced the American people that this is the best program on the face of the earth, then why is Congress and senators and your local governor of your state and the school teachers of your state, and why are those people not paying into Social Security? If it's so great. I'm just asking. If they did not tax my husband, he would bring home $380 more a month. Now, that may not be much to some of y'all, but we don't have any dependents. But if he kept that money in his pocket, that's $5,000 more a year that we could invest it. We could buy a piece of property, pay it off, sit on it, and then sell it for 5 times our money 20 years down the road. Do you see what I'm saying? We could build our own portfolio. We would start with $5,000, but then the next year, you know what I'm saying? We would pull. So when I tell you that things like food stamps, that's all socialism. Those programs work like this. Hello, Samantha, Starkey Farmstead. You have a garden, correct? Yes, I do. Do you sell your vegetables? Yes, I do. Well, we're going to sign you up to use food stamps, excuse me, on your property. Okay. Now, here's the thing. I can charge whatever I wanted, and I do accept food stamps. But for the past 2 years, I've just been giving what I grow away. I started a Give, Send, Go. People donate money, and I give that food away, right? Before that, I accepted food stamps on my property because everybody in my community, 70% of them get food stamps. So they're not going to come buy from me if I can't take their food stamps because that's how they, whatever. However, when farmers realized that they could charge you $5 a tomato and the government was going to pay it, food and grocery stores went up for the middle class who can't get food stamps. When the government comes in after a storm with FEMA, they just did this in Maui, and they started paying $6,000 a month for a 1-bedroom apartment when it was only going for $3,500 a month before the fire. Now it's $6,000 a month, and the government's willing to pay it. People who were paying $3,500 had their leases ended and kicked out of their apartments to house fire victims because the owner of the apartment could get double their money. Now, you may say, but that's wrong. Well, is it? I mean, doesn't that person deserve to get what the government's willing to pay? It's like that with subsidized housing. People who don't get these programs can't afford housing, food, and insurance because the people that do get the programs, they think it's free money. They're like, oh, it's owed me. Is it owed you? Well, I mean, I worked. Would you work? I'm not being ugly, folks. You've got to learn to hear what I'm trying to say to you. Before I was a school teacher, I worked at McDonald's. I understood that working at McDonald's was not going to feed a family. I understood that a job at McDonald's was not a career. But now, when I pull up at McDonald's, I'm seeing people in their 40s, 50s, and 60s that have been there for 20 and 30 years, comfortable working at McDonald's. Why? Well, the government pays for their housing, pays for their food stamps, pays for their insurance, helps cover their electric bill. They got a free government phone. They work just enough to be able to stay on the programs. Do you understand what I'm trying to tell you guys? At some point in this country, we have to make the decision that we're going to end social welfare programs. And we're going to be like this. Okay. We're going to let you keep all your money throughout your working years. And it's going to be so hard to do because there are people currently living on Social Security and disability. And if you remove those two programs, they truly will be out on the streets. But for the ones of you getting Social Security and disability, you have enough money to live on? Are you comfortable? And what about your property taxes on your home you worked 30 years to pay for? How's that going? Those property taxes affordable to you? They are dissolving the middle class in front of our faces. They are training the younger children to believe that you who can should work really hard to help those who won't or can't. Because I'm going to be honest with you. If I pushed it, I could be on permanent disability because I have plates in my feet. My neck has been broken. I have 38 broken bones in my body. I could quit tomorrow and force them to put me on disability. I didn't do it because I understand two things. One, I'll never be comfortable on what they're willing to pay me. Two, I still have something to give. So instead of standing on my feet for 8 hours a day at a checkout line, which I physically can't do, I did something that I could. I changed direction, applied myself to a new career because I can't do this. God never ever meant for you to be on a government handout. And I'm not saying that you didn't pay into Social Security. For the love of God, hear what I'm saying to you. It's the Antichrist system. This is not God's plan for you to be this broke in your later years. The Bible says that you will be fat and flourishing in your later years. Are any of you flourishing? Some of you may be. Think about the younger generation now. Can y'all not understand why they may be attracted to somebody telling them they deserve everything for free? Because I promise you, when they look forward, they're not seeing the American dream. Thank you, Mark. They're not seeing the American dream, baby. They don't see how to do it because there's no easy way through what you and I allowed to happen in this country. And now you're seeing New York City fight it out for their lives, right? The guy running on the Democrat ticket is not only an Islamic terrorist, but he is most definitely a full force socialist that's telling people they won't have to pay rent to live in New York. Are you kidding me? Who's going to pay taxes if you don't have any corporations? And guys, listen to me. Stop being angry with people who find a way through. The Lord shows them how to create income. Stop being mad at those people. Get on your knees and ask your God, Father, show me how to do this. My dad is going to be 84 in December. He started a YouTube channel at 78. It took him 3 years before he made his first paycheck. But anywhere from a couple $100 to $1,000 extra every month on his YouTube channel is really making his life and my mother's better. Every one of you could do that. YouTube is free to get on. But we're comfortable with our complaining. All I'm trying to do is show you that you do not have to accept what the government is telling you is your lot. Because if you could have kept your money, you'd have a lot more than you do right now. Social democracy is the most common form of modern socialism. It doesn't seek to eliminate capitalism, but rather regulate excesses through strong social safety nets, wealth redistribution, and robust public services like universal health care and free education. Baby, I don't know about you, but there's one thing my father taught me very early in my life. There is nothing for free. Somebody had to pay for it. Your salvation wasn't free. Your forgiveness of sin wasn't free. Jesus had to pay for it. We're riding the coattails of the greatest generation in American history, the baby boomers. And their grandchildren will not even be able to afford a house. In 2 generations, our country was hijacked. So what do we have to do to fix this? It's a multi-pronged issue, folks. It's a multi-pronged issue. But I'm going to tell you what I have told you over and over again. You can argue with me. You can tell me that, that's Old Testament. You can tell me that you're not going to do it. You do you. But there is a key to wealth. First, you have to break the poverty, the demon of poverty, which is what socialism really is. It's to keep everybody poor together, but the elected officials and the corporations, they'll be billionaires. Everybody else will just be poor together. Okay? So you have to understand what you're fighting against with your finance is a spiritual thing. How do you break a spiritual stronghold? How do you break it? With your mouth and with your giving. I tithe. I'm sitting in Seattle, just got my daughter out of an outpatient procedure to look in her stomach. Just got her moved into a new dorm when I get the phone call that there's an aneurysm in my 46-year-old husband's brain. Do y'all know what I did? I sent my tithes and my offerings early in rebuking of what Satan had for me because I understood immediately what this meant. YouTube does not pay me anymore. So there's no income from YouTube. Now my husband can't work. So there's no bill money. So instead of becoming afraid, instead of saying, oh, let me apply for disability right now, Stephen, I sent my tithes and then I said extra. And I said, you will not make me afraid because I understand that God takes care of me. I have an assurance. There's a biblical promise when you tithe, when you give from your first fruits. And it's in Malachi, the book of Malachi. I think it's Malachi. Yes, the book of Malachi. I think it's chapter 3. It says that God will rebuke the devourer on your behalf. He'll rebuke him. When you come into the covenant of tithes and offerings with the Lord. So there's a promise from God, but there's something that you have to do to receive the promise. Now, you can let people lie to you. You can let anybody in the world lie to you, but that's out of the Bible. When Stephen and I got saved, we did not have jobs, had no way to pay electric bill, had no money. The first thing we did was take our $5 that we'd made $50 for the whole week. We took our 10% and put it in the plate. And from that moment, we have never stopped tithing. And in 5 years, the Lord has doubled our income almost every single year and healed our bodies and made new ways to bring revenue into our home. I'm just saying, I know that a lot of you are looking at me going, I don't have 10% to give. You do. If you would give it in faith, if you will give it in faith to your church that feeds your spirit, the Lord will bring it back to you, friend. Tithing is a faith thing. The first thing I had to learn to do is stop saying I didn't have enough money. I had to say things like, That's not really in my budget, because budgeting is actually a morally good thing to do, right? I'd have to tell Stephen, we should wait, save our money. We never take out anything we can't pay cash for, ever. If we want something, we sit down, we're like, God, we really need a new well, which we do. So we need 10 grand. So what do? We go to the Lord with it. God, I need a well. I was walking around my yard the other day. Dad, I need that well. I need that well like yesterday. But guess what? The well's still working because Samantha's still tithing. My husband's not going to be able to work. We don't have sick days. We don't have a backup plan. We're like most of you. So how are we going to survive it? I'm going to continue to tithe and offer. I'm going to continue to help other people in need. I'm going to continue to give food out free to my community. Why? Because the Bible tells me that when I throw my bread out on the water, I don't know when, but it's going to return to me. My husband was helping a friend 2 weeks ago fix their lawnmower. They offered to pay. We never took the money. We never even mentioned it to them again. He went over there and spent hours after working in the heat to fix their lawnmower. Her husband had just had an aneurysm blow by his right kidney. Fast forward it, my husband's going through something similar, but it's in the brain, right? He can't work. But I'm not afraid because we've been sowing. Does that make sense? We sow our time. We sow our skills. We sow our hearts. We sow our prayers. We sow our money. Folks, you sow in the good times and you sow even harder in the bad times. Because if you're looking at the clouds, farmers know this. I don't look at the sky and go, wow, maybe today's not a good day for me to put the seeds in the ground. If I did that, seeds would never get put in the ground because no day would ever be a good day. I go and I'm like, nope, it's time to put the seeds in the ground. And then I have an expectation that what I just put in the ground is going to produce multiplying to me. I use that same concept with my tithes, my offerings. When I was in Seattle, my daughter needed some stuff. Of course she did. She's 24, going on 25 in Seattle, So I just paid for them. I didn't worry about it because I'm sowing into my child's future. Please hear me. God never meant for you to live on $800 a month. I know that's what the government tells you that you're going to get. And that's all you're going to get. You're going to suck it up, shut up, and deal with it. But if you would humbly go to God and say, I need secondary income, and then just start doing what he tells you to do. When I started farming, we didn't make any money off this property for the first year, but I never stopped. But if you do not start, you will never finish. Let me repeat that. If you do not start, you will never, ever finish. And God cannot bless anything if you don't work with your hands. The Bible says repeatedly, I will bless the works of your hands. You will be blessed in the field. You will be blessed in the city. Your storehouses will overrun. So if you're the opposite of that right now, I need you to get in Deuteronomy 28. I need you to start preaching that, praying that, speaking that out loud. Stephen and I would be going somewhere and we knew we didn't have enough money. And I would say, it's okay, baby, because the Lord's going to bless the what? And he would go, the works of your hands. And I'd say, we're just going to keep on keeping on. That's what I expect from you guys. You have got to keep on keeping on. But God never expected you to be busted, disgusted, and broke. That is not meant for you. The wealth of the wicked is laid up for the just. But until you know it, you command it, and you start walking it out, you can just sit down and die, friend, because it ain't going to happen for you. Stephen, come say hi. He went to get a little bit of lunch today because I just got off the airplane. I got 2 hours of sleep in 36 hours. Say hi, baby.
Hey.
He said he was going to get behind the camera and then fall over. I said, do not do that. Like, I will pass out in front of this thing. All right, guys. They said, hi, Steve. They're praying for you.
Thank y'all.
Thank you. I will keep you updated. I'm not going to lie to you. I had my pastor come by this morning. He anointed my husband with oil. I laid hands on him. Dude, was I coming around them gravel roads sideways because I knew I needed to get home. I knew I had to get here. I had to lay hands on my husband. Please know if you have sent money, go back and check and make sure you put your email in the memo, because some people are like, I sent it through Cash App. I've not received anything. If you didn't put your email, I don't have a way to reach out to you. So I need you guys to Leslie and I have a lot on our plates. You're going to have to follow the directions for things to work properly. If you did put your email and you've not heard from me, please reach out. I will recidify it. Now, I am going to be starting my Patreon. I worked on that over the weekend. I'll explain that in another video. It is time for me to go and just love on my husband. I just wanted to say good morning and talk to you guys about Social Security and these other programs. That was not meant for you, friend. I know people, I've heard this from really poor people. They love to tell me, but God, Jesus said the poor would always be with us, Samantha. Really? He did say that, but he meant the poor in spirit, the poor in health, and maybe even the poor in finances. He did not mean a half of America unable to pay all of their bills. That is not what Jesus meant. And until you guys get it in your spirit that this is not your lot, this is not what your God intends for you, until you actually understand that, just like I understood instinctively that it was not God that put an aneurysm in my husband's head. Do you understand that? I got pissed, but I wasn't pissed at God. I was pissed at Satan. And I started talking to him. I talked to him in tongues, and I talked to him in English, and I told him in no uncertain way, you just crossed the wrong Christian lady. So I need you guys to start standing up in the spirit and manifesting it in the flesh. But you had better start right here, baby, because that tongue in your mouth is 90% of your problem. I love you guys. Be blessed. Hey, Leslie. I will see you guys later. Probably, maybe, I don't know when. We're trying to get appointments for Stephen over the next couple of days. Honest to God, I don't know when. So I'll try. You can look in the top of comments if you got to get the newsletter and the Zoom links. We're not going to stop that. Leslie and I are moving forward. We're not playing around. It's time to take this country back. Love you guys so much. Talk to you later.